In November 2024, Bo Guagua, who had been absent for a long time, reappeared before the public. This time, she held a secret yet grand wedding with the granddaughter of the founder of Taiwan's Boai Hospital. During the wedding speech, Bo Guagua mentioned her parents, Bo Xilai and Gu Kailai, describing them as bearing humiliation and sacrificing for the greater good. This brought us back to memories of her father and the dramatic events of over a decade ago. Today we will delve into the story of Bo Xilai, exploring the circumstances leading up to his downfall. By the end of 2007, the 17th National Congress of the Communist Party, often referred to as the divvying up of spoils, concluded. For the political star Bo Xilai, the outcome was bittersweet. On the one hand, he had finally entered the Politburo and become a vice-ministerial level leader. On the other hand, he had not achieved his goal of becoming a vice premier, and was instead assigned to the marginalized city of Chongqing as the party secretary. Before him, the position of Chongqing party secretary had always been held by a ministerial-level official. What worried him even more was that the new generation of leaders, Wu Jintao and Wen Jiabao, seemed to have some prejudice against him. The second son of the Hab family, who had always followed him around since childhood, had been designated as the heir apparent for the next term. The son-in-law of the Yao family, whom he had always looked down upon, had secured the coveted position of vice premier, a role he had longed for. To smoothly enter the Standing Committee in the 18th Congress 5 years later, he had to make a significant impact in Chongqing and achieve indisputable achievements. However, upon learning about the local situation in Chongqing, Bo Xilai was taken aback. The complexity of this place. It can be said that Chongqing far surpassed Dalian and Liaoning in terms of the challenges she had faced. Chongqing was established as a directly administered municipality, specifically to address the relocation of people affected by the Three Gorges Dam. It was pieced together from several impoverished regions. After becoming a directly administered municipality, the first party secretary and mayor engaged in a fierce power struggle. The subsequent party secretary He Guoqing worked to maintain unity within the leadership by collaborating with the local faction led by Bo Xilai. Before leaving, he promoted Wang Hongjian, the leader of Bo's faction, to the position of mayor. During the tenures of Huang Zhendong and Wang Yang as party secretaries, Bo's faction rapidly expanded its influence. Meanwhile, the old local factions regained control of the political and legal affairs system. External officials like Huang Qifan had very limited influence. This situation left Wang Yang almost powerless during his 2.5-year term in Chongqing Daitian. Bo Xilai faced a similar political landscape. To achieve anything, he first had to defeat the Bo faction and the local factions to establish his authority. This was no easy task, as missteps could alienate the powerful forces behind these factions. However, Bo, coming from a prestigious political family, was undeterred. He needed to forge his own path to secure a seat on the Politburo Standing Committee. To get things done, he first had to intimidate the local officials and have his own people in place. Bo wielded his 3 major strategies. The first was a shuffle of officials. In March 2003, under his direction, the heads of 7 counties and districts in Chongqing were replaced, just a year after a major reshuffle had been completed. The second strategy was an anti-corruption campaign. In the first quarter of 2008, several high-ranking officials were placed under dual supervision. The media commented that Bo's appointment had caused an earthquake in the officialdom, with 7 district heads and 7 high-ranking officials under investigation for corruption. Your predecessor had a propaganda department head who was released that year. Was it 2004? Yes, 2004. He served for a little over 2 years. In 2008, Bo Xilai conducted field research in Chongqing's grassroots communities and found that some local officials had narrow-minded career goals and low qualifications. Some district and county leaders were even unfamiliar with basic economic terms. Based on this situation, Bo Xilai established a special training program for district and county party secretaries and mayors, which he personally taught. However, Bo Xilai knew that these local officials would be difficult to change through training alone, and decided to bring in his own people. At the recommendation of Guo Xilai, he transferred Wang Lijun from Liaoning to serve as the deputy director of the Chongqing Public Security Bureau. Prior to this, Wang Lijun had just solved the case of Guo Xilai being poisoned, earning him high praise from Bo's wife. Bo Xilai himself had no direct working experience with Wang Lijun and knew little about him. Entrusting his entire strategy to someone he did not know was not a typical move for a politician and laid the groundwork for their future fallout. Bo Xilai saw himself as Wang Lijun's benefactor, unaware that Wang had already established connections with Zhao Yongkang's adopted son during an anti-corruption campaign and had previously rebelled against his first patron. In Wang Lijun's view, Bo Xilai was merely a stepping stone in his career. However, these differences emerged later. In 2008, the pilot program and the meeting between Bo and Wang sparked significant changes. Bo Xilai also made adjustments to officials sent from the central government, regardless of their backing, to clear the way for Wang Lijun. He reassigned Lu Guanglei, who was then the secretary of the Chongqing Political and Legal Affairs Committee and the director of the Public Security Bureau. Bo Xilai forced the police chief to step down, disregarding Lu Guanglei's and Hu Jintao's office relationship. He moved Wen Jiabao's former aide, Chen Naiwen, from the position of party committee secretary of the Northern New District to the position of deputy secretary, eventually leaving him idle. He also moved another trusted ally, Zhang Ji, from the position of district committee secretary to an idle post. Zhang Ji simply returned to Beijing to work at the Central Policy Research Office. It is said that Zhang Ji later wrote a 100,000-word research report, submitting the Chongqing model to the higher-ups. Unbeknownst to him, Bo Xilai had offended those powerful figures in Beijing. In November 28, taxi drivers in the main urban area of Chongqing went on strike, demanding lower rents, more gas stations, and crackdowns on unlicensed taxis. For such group events, the Chongqing Public Security Bureau must have had some information beforehand. However, no one reported this to Wang Lijun, who was in charge of the work, nor did they make any preparations to respond. In Bo Xilai's view, this was the first challenge launched by the local forces against him. Bo Xilai personally intervened, convening a meeting with various stakeholders, including taxi drivers and operators, and engaged in direct dialogue. The event was broadcast live on television and the internet, perfectly showcasing a PhD's populist charm. During the meeting, Li Qiang, the chairman of Chongqing Yuqiang Taxi Company, interrupted Bo Xilai's speech, saying, "Comrade Bo, you've been in Chongqing for a short time and don't understand the situation here. Let me explain it to you." After the meeting, Bo Xilai immediately ordered Wang Lijun to quickly investigate the instigators behind the scenes and put these arrogant individuals into the Black Society framework. Consequently, Li Qiang was naturally listed in the Big Black Land case, with his entire family of 7 sent to prison and all their property confiscated. Under pressure, Li Qiang confessed that his backer was Feng Linbang, the boss of the Chongqing gang. Wang Hongzhu, the mayor of Chongqing. Immediately after the Chongqing Public Security Bureau began investigating the Wang Tianlun organized crime case, they uncovered suspicious dealings between Wang Tianlun and Chongqing Mayor Wang Hongzhu. Wang Tianlun had written to Wang Hongzhu, suggesting the establishment of the Chongqing Meat Processing Center to implement the Safe Meat Project. This move was aimed at securing government support to monopolize the pork slaughtering industry in Chongqing. Wang Hongzhu responded with an endorsement, stating that it was a highly attractive proposal and implied his support. Subsequently, he issued several more endorsements. Photographs of these original endorsements were later published on the website of the Economic Observer. In media reports, Wang Hongzhu was hinted to be the black hand behind Chongqing's underworld. In December, Wang Hongzhu resigned from his position as Chongqing mayor, leaving a year earlier than planned. The influence of Fu Linbao quickly dissipated in Chongqing. After serving in Chongqing for 8 years, Huang Qifan, a subordinate of Bo Xilai, finally took over as mayor. From then on, he became Bo Xilai's right-hand man, creating a situation where Huang Qifan handled the administrative affairs and Wang Lijun managed the security. For local officials in Chongqing, Bo Xilai adopted a strategy of subjugation. Between 2008 and 2009, a local businessman named Xiao Yi arranged for his subordinate, Zhao Hongji, to seduce local officials and secretly record their sexual encounters. He then used these videos to blackmail the officials, achieving his own ends. When Lai Zhengfu was exposed and could no longer hide the truth, he confessed to Bo Xilai. Instead of punishing these officials, Bo Xilai, with Wang Lijun's help, had the perpetrators arrested. Bo Xilai seized the opportunity to control Lai Zhengfu and others, turning them into willing servants. These individuals included Peng Zhiyong, the party secretary of Julongpo District, Fan Mingwen, the party secretary of Bishan County, and Luo Guang, the chairman of Southwest Securities. Changzhou District's head, Han Shuming, and the deputy general manager of Chongqing Chengtu, Su Ziguang, revealed that it wasn't until Bo Xilai's downfall that the Baiyazhou incident resurfaced. In 2007, shortly after Bo Xilai arrived in Chongqing, local police arranged his security. Bo Xilai wanted to replace his personal security detail, but the police responded that they needed to consult with Wen Qiang, the police chief. This left a deep impression on Bo Xilai. In June 28, Wang Lijun took over as the deputy chief of the Chongqing Public Security Bureau from Wen Qiang, who was then appointed as the head of the Justice Bureau. The fates of these two anti-crime heroes took a dramatic turn from that point onward. With Bo Xilai's support, Wang Lijun began infiltrating Chongqing's police force, bringing in 68 officers from Liaoning alone. Key positions were filled with Wang Lijun's people. In 2009, Chongqing experienced two high-profile shooting incidents, known as the 319 and 63 cases. These events sparked a massive anti-crime campaign by the Chongqing Public Security Bureau, which dismantled dozens of criminal gangs, arrested thousands of individuals, and seized billions in assets within a month. In August 29, Wen Qiang was placed under investigation and swiftly sentenced to death. This, along with the suicide of Wu Xiaoping, former director of the Chongqing High Court's Enforcement Bureau, sent shockwaves through Chongqing's legal system, which fell under the control of Bo Xilai and Wang Lijun. Zhang Wenbin, who had served as the Chongqing Political and Legal Affairs Commission's secretary and was Wen Qiang's primary benefactor, became extremely cautious. He frequently praised Bo Xilai in public to ensure his own safety. Despite successfully subduing the political and legal circles of Chongqing, the negative effects of the anti-gang campaign began to surface. The widespread use of torture and forced confessions during the campaign led to external criticism that this was a lawless crackdown. Over 5,000 people were arrested, and their relatives sought help from central leaders through various channels. Many complainants reached out to He Guoqiang and Wang Yang, but even these senior leaders were powerless against the formidable Bo Xilai. Furthermore, this movement dealt a heavy blow to the reputations of He Guoqiang and Wang Yang. If Chongqing had so many remnants of organized crime, what had the previous municipal party secretaries been doing? Were they not seriously derelict in their duties? Individuals like Wen Qiang had thrived under their watch, implying that they had shielded problematic officials. As a politician, Bo Xilai must have anticipated these repercussions. Although he defended the two former leaders on numerous occasions, the outcome still left He Guoqiang and Wang Yang somewhat embarrassed. Notably, Wang Yang had to launch his own anti-gang campaign in Guangdong to respond to Chongqing's efforts. He Guoqiang, as the powerful secretary of the Central Discipline Inspection Commission, held significant authority over officials' careers. Wang Yang, though helpless against Bo Xilai, was a favored protege of Hu Jintao and Wen Jiabao. Bo Xilai's actions further deepened Hu and Wen's discontent with him. Naturally, as a savvy political figure, Bo Xilai understood the importance of high-level relationship. He began extensive public relations efforts with the top leadership of the Chinese Communist Party and the influential families he believed could affect his future. Toward these second-tier leaders, Bo Xilai showed great respect, viewing them as the true stakeholders of the republic. He invested considerable effort in courting these families. In September 2009, Deng Nan led the 11th Chinese Science Conference, which opened in Chongqing. The Chongqing government provided full cooperation. In June 2010, after repeated invitations from Bo Xilai, Deng Pufang, then vice chairman of the National Committee of the Chinese People's Political Consultative Conference, visited Chongqing Gatwai. However, Deng's children did not publicly comment on the Chongqing model. Bo Xilai then sought help from Deng Xiaoping's younger brother, Deng Ken. The elder Deng wrote two ambiguous couplets for Bo Xilai: self-reliance and perseverance, both hands must be strong. Bo Xilai interpreted these inscriptions as an endorsement of the Chongqing model and arranged for extensive media coverage, claiming it as a gesture of support from a member of the Deng family. The Chen Yun family and the Bo family had their own dynamics. Bo Xilai's younger brother, Bo Xilai, and Chen Yun's son, Chen Yuan, who was then the chairman of the China Development Bank, had a close relationship. Bo Guagua and Chen Yun's daughter, Chen Xiaodan, had even dated. Chen Yun designated Chongqing as an early experimental field for development finance, arranging for the China Development Bank to provide Chongqing with massive loans totaling over 50 billion yuan. Among the third-generation leaders, Bo Xilai's story of courting Jiang Zemin in Dalian is well known. In fact, Bo Xilai also maintained a strong relationship with Li Peng. Li Peng was a key supporter of Bo Xilai and was the main advocate for the Three Gorges project and Chongqing's direct jurisdiction. He was also a prominent representative of the Princeling faction and the left wing. His views on the Chongqing model were naturally crucial. Bo Xilai carefully maintained his relationship with Li Peng, even orchestrating a scenario where a Chongqing primary school wrote to Li Peng and his wife, requesting them to name the school. Additionally, Bo Xilai invited Li Xiaolin to visit Chongqing, providing her with a highly formal reception. Li Xiaolin impulsively announced in the media that he would invest over 100 billion yuan in Chongqing to build an energy project. Bo Xilai did not forget his staunch supporter, Li Lanqing, the former commerce minister, who had a good relationship with Bo Dao. Bo had even promoted Li's son. In November 2011, Li Lanqing's exhibition, I Draw Portraits of Masters, opened at the original Boyun Garden in Chongqing, Dao. Bo Xilai personally attended the opening ceremony and visited the exhibition. During this time, he lavishly praised Li Lanqing. Although Bo had good relationships with most of the Standing Committee members of the fourth generation of leaders, he was troubled by the fact that Hu Jintao and Wen Jiabao, who held the most power, had never visited Chongqing for inspections. In 2009, to win over Wen Jiabao, Bo approved a plan orchestrated by Huang Qifeng. Just before its IPO, Chongqing department store transferred 39% of its shares to New Heaven Capital, which was associated with Wen Jiabao's son. This effectively gave the Wen family a gift worth tens of billions of yuan. Wen's son proved to be quite capable, quickly resolving the historical issue of employee shareholding at Chongqing department store and paving the way for its IPO. However, when it came to political matters, Wen's son could not influence his father. It was even possible that he had not informed his father about this investment. Bo Xilai's goodwill ultimately went unrewarded. In 2011, the actual controller of Chongqing Guosheng, Wen Zhengji, entered into a strategic cooperation with Tsinghua Tongfeng. This company, which had close ties to Hu Jintao's son, Hu Haifeng, became a major shareholder in Chongqing Guosheng. This Tsinghua-affiliated enterprise briefly gave Bo Xilai hope. He granted Tsinghua Tongfeng many privileges in the hopes of improving his relationship with the Hu family. However, Bo Xilai was disappointed once again. Tsinghua Tongfeng and Hu Haifeng had no influence over Hu Jintao. Unable to proceed, Bo Xilai had no choice but to arrange for the Chongqing Daily to interview Hu Jintao's cousin, who then endorsed the Chongqing model, misleading the uninformed public once again. Under Bo Xilai's efforts, 6 members of the Politburo Standing Committee visited Chongqing in succession. They were Jia Qinglin, Xu Jinping, Zhou Wenkang, Li Changchun, He Guoqiang, and Wu Bengguo. Several vice premier level officials also visited Chongqing for inspections, including Liu Yunshan, Wang Qishan, Meng Jianshu, and Li Yuankao. However, the level of support from these individuals varied. Some avoided discussing the Sing Red Strike Black campaign, focusing only on deflecting criticism, such as Li Yuankao. Others brought nearly 10 ministry-level officials, clearly intending to resolve issues, like Wang Qishan. The great leader Wen Jinping has a family motto. In politics, one should make many friends and few enemies. Bo Xilai's style, however, resulted in many friends, but also many enemies. Take the Strike Black campaign, for example. The campaign itself was not problematic. The issue was its overreach and Maoist-style tactics. Slogans could be shouted loudly, but actions had to be taken with extreme caution. Wang Lijun undoubtedly wanted to expand the Strike Black movement indefinitely. As the municipal party secretary, Bo Xilai should have controlled Wang Lijun's ambitions and recklessness rather than indulging them. By the end of 2009, Bo Xilai made another significant move. He arrested Li Ji, a lawyer who had come to defend Gong Gangmo. Li Ji was a partner at the Beijing Kangda law firm and was not a major figure. However, this incident marked a turning point in Bo Xilai's fate. It can be said that Bo Xilai's downfall began and ended with the Li Ji case. Why is this so? The Kangda law firm where Li Ji worked was originally a department of the Kanghua Company, founded by Deng Pufang. The person in charge is Peng Zhen's son, Fu Yang. Later, the firm evolved into an independent law firm. Peng Zhen was one of the 8 elders of the Communist Party of China post-reform and opening up. Throughout the 1980s, he was responsible for China's legal system. The firm's influence permeated the political and legal system. Fu Yang has a close personal relationship with Deng Pufang and is childhood friends with Bo Xilai. This kind of bail work is actually a daily task for many criminal lawyers. As a local leader, you can choose not to show favor or help, but you absolutely cannot detain the defending lawyer. This is a massive insult to the law firm, an insult to Fu Yang's standing in the legal community, and a mockery of China's rule of law. As I approached the airplane door, I pushed it open and was startled by what I saw. There were 3 lines of riot police on the other side wearing helmets, boots, and camouflage uniforms, each with a submachine gun strapped to their chest. Dozens of police cars surrounded the plane, their lights flashing. It was like a scene from a Hollywood movie. I was taken aback and thought, have they caught bin Laden, or is Obama visiting? To persuade Bo Xilai, Fu Yang even involved Ni Rongzhen's daughter, Nili. Ni Rongzhen was known for his integrity and had good relationships within the Communist Party's senior leadership. When Nili got married in Guangzhou, 5 marshals attended the ceremony. The Ni family also had a close relationship with Deng Xiaoping's family. Just a month prior, Bo Xilai had unveiled a monument for Ni Rongzhen's counterpart. However, Bo Xilai still did not give Deng Pufang and Ni Lai face, sentencing Li Zhang to a 1.5 years in prison. This was a severe humiliation for Fu Yang's law firm and China's legal system. In reality, Li Zhang's sentence, which was around 2.5 years, was relatively light compared to the sentences given to those involved in black and evil forces in our jurisdiction. Why did this matter garner so much attention? I believe it should prompt everyone to pause and reflect carefully. Deng Pufang angrily declared, Bo Xilai is untrustworthy and lacks loyalty. After the Lijiang case, Wen Ting personally visited the Kaida law firm for an inspection, highlighting the stark contrast in their abilities. Moreover, Bo Xilai had also offended the Yi family. Years ago, Yi Xuanning's Kelly Group controlled Chongqing Guoxin and Southwest Securities. Later, Huang Qifan and Wang Wanchak pushed him out. The Yi family has harbored resentment towards the two ever since. Seeing Bo Xilai favor them made the Yi family uncomfortable. During the anti-crime campaign, some business people sought Yi Xuanning's help, and he agreed, even intervening with Bo Xilai to show mercy. However, Bo Xilai refused, deeply offending Yi Xuanning. Coupled with his disdain for the Cultural Revolution, Yi Xuanning and other enlightened members of the Princeling faction, such as Hu Duan, began to distance themselves from Bo Xilai. The Lijiang case further alienated Bo Xilai from half of the Princeling faction and offended China's legal and cultural circles, undoing his previous public relations efforts. Many people assume that political rivals only began targeting Bo Xilai around 2011. However, the truth is that by around 2009, Bo Xilai was already embroiled in the first round of political struggle. This conflict occurred between then Premier Wen Jiabao, and then head of the Central Political and Legal Affairs Commission. These two figures, one having served as a deputy minister of the former Ministry of Geology and Mineral Resources, and the other having headed the Ministry of Land and Resources, which was formed by merging the former Ministry of Geology and Mineral Resources with other departments, had a long-standing disagreement over personnel arrangements within the Ministry of Land and Resources. This dispute began during Wen Jiabao's administration, which started in 2003, with Zhou Yongkang serving as a state councillor and Minister of Public Security. A powerful Premier Wen Jiabao sought influence over the Ministry of Public Security, but Zhou Yongkang staunchly resisted. By 2008, Zhao had become the head of the Central Political and Legal Affairs Commission, and Meng Jianzhu was appointed the new Minister of Public Security. Meng also aimed to break through Zhao's layers of control and establish his own authority within the ministry. Wen and Meng joined forces, seizing the opportunity presented by the Huang Guangyu case to oust the Deputy Minister and Director of the Economic Crime Investigation Bureau, Zhang Xiaodong, who was favored by Zhou. This power struggle within the Ministry of Public Security was initially between Wen and Zhao. However, Wen quickly realized Zhou's strength and his extensive network of allies. Unable to directly challenge Zhao, Wen decided to target one of his associates whom he also disliked. Soon, the Huang Guangyu case led to the Guo Jingyi case in the Ministry of Commerce. Guo, known as Xilai's classmate from Peking University, long oversaw the legal affairs department and should have had connections to the ALI law firm representing Guo Xilai. To Wen's surprise, Guo had been collaborating with a different law firm. With this strategy ineffective, Wen shifted tactics. In 2009, Premier Wen Jiabao personally approved a major campaign to investigate and prosecute illegal activities in Chinese football, including match fixing, bribery, and gambling. It was well known that the largest group involved in these activities, controlling several clubs and manipulating matches, was Yu Shuming, Xilai's right-hand man. Reports indicated that Public Security Bureau investigators had arrived in Sichuan to look into Xu's control over the Sichuan Guangcheng team. Zhao Yongkang's secretary Yu Gang intervened just in time. The anti-corruption campaign rescued several individuals involved in the Guangcheng team, but it seemed like several scapegoats were caught. The case remained unresolved until 2012, as if deliberately waiting for something. Around 2009, the notorious club owner Bo Guagua began to gain widespread attention online, with various comments about him emerging. In the same year, the Ministry of State Security initiated an investigation into whether Haywood was a British spy. Under the guidance of an influential figure, Bo Xilai proactively wrote to the central authorities, explaining Haywood's situation. Also in 2009, the Central Inspection Team arrived in Chongqing, led by Hu Jintao's confidant, Vice Secretary of the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection, Liu Shengyuan. By 2011, Bo Xilai found himself in a precarious situation. On one hand, the 18th National Congress was scheduled for the following year, and the competition for the Politburo Standing Committee was nearing its end. On the other hand, by this point, Hu Jintao had not visited Chongqing or commented on the Chongqing model. In contrast, Hu Jintao had already visited Guangdong 3 times to support Wang Yang. This left Bo Xilai feeling uncertain. He desperately wanted to understand Hu Jintao's thoughts, and sought a clear stance from Hu and others. Bo made 2 foolish moves, committing fatal errors. First, he eavesdropped on conversations between officials visiting Chongqing and Hu Jintao, a serious political blunder. Within the Communist Party, eavesdropping without authorization is prohibited, especially when involving superiors and the General Secretary. This action also made other Politburo Standing Committee members uneasy, wondering if Bo had also eavesdropped on them. Second, he organized over 1,000 people to travel to Beijing for a red song singing event. Bo's plan was that if Hu Jintao was unwilling to come to Chongqing, then they would go to Beijing to hold an event, hoping he would participate. Their first strike targeted Wang Lijun, whose base of operations was the Police Bureau of Tiling. In 2011, the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection received an anonymous letter from Tiling, accusing Wang Lijun and his subordinates of misappropriating a construction fund of 450,000 yuan. Typically, such anonymous tips can be investigated or ignored at will. However, Hu Jintao approved an investigation into the matter. The reason behind this is likely understandable. Soon after, Gu Fengji, who took over Wang Lijun's position as the head of the Tiling Police Bureau, was brought down. Prior to this, the entire leadership of the Tiling Police Bureau had been dismantled, with 6 of Wang Lijun's associates arrested. Meanwhile, the Central Commission for Discipline Inspection also launched a peripheral investigation into Wang Lijun. Panicked, Wang Lijun sought out Bo Xilai to report the situation, hoping Bo would intervene to stop the investigation. Bo refused and instead began to distance himself from Wang in various matters, which deeply hurt Wang and caused him to develop severe insomnia. Desperate, Wang sought to obtain leverage over the Bo family to secure Bo's protection. The second strike targeted Neil Haywood. Relevant authorities interviewed Haywood multiple times, asking him to explain his interactions with the Bo family. The foreigner felt immense pressure, losing more hair by the day. He requested that his friends avoid discussing sensitive topics over the phone or email, and tried to obtain a British passport for his Chinese wife, hoping to leave China as soon as possible. Clearly his efforts were in vain, and his relationship with Gu Xilai became increasingly tense. He sought more compensation in exchange for keeping the Bo family's secrets. For someone like Bo Xilai, a high-ranking official, this was akin to extortion. Later, the Chinese Communist Party officially acknowledged the breakdown of their relationship. Many police officers were dispatched to secure the consulate, fearing that Bo Xilai might storm in and abduct someone. Liu Qi, despite his weakness, adhered strictly to Hu Jintao's instructions during this critical moment, which contributed to his later promotion to the Politburo. The most conflicted person at the time was Zhao Yongkang. On one hand, as the head of the Central Political and Legal Affairs Commission, he was duty-bound to ensure that Wang Lijun voluntarily left the consulate. On the other hand, he did not want Wang to fall into the hands of the central authorities, driven by his personal interests. Hu Jintao sent the deputy head of the State Security Ministry, Chu Jin, to lead the operation. Chu had previously served as the deputy secretary of the Beijing Municipal Communist Youth League and the vice chairman of the All China Students' Federation, making him a genuine member of the Youth League faction. This made it difficult for Zhao Yongkang to play any tricks, so he sent his protégé, Kong Tao, a close friend of Wang Lijun, to persuade Wang to leave the consulate. Rumors circulated that Huang Qifan attempted to take Wang Lijun away during this time, and clashed with Chu Jin. It was only after Hu Jintao personally called Bo Xilai that the Chongqing side relented. Wang Lijun, frightened by the humiliating experience, refused to board a special flight back to Beijing and insisted on taking a commercial flight instead, clearly demonstrating his heightened security awareness. By this point, it was predictable that Wang Lijun would implicate Bo Xilai in the murder case. However, Wang had little concrete evidence regarding the Bo family's illicit wealth. Therefore, Bo Xilai should focus on a few key tasks. First, proving that Gu Xilai had mental health issues to potentially reduce her culpability. Second, swiftly distancing himself from Gu Xilai to prevent her problems from affecting him. After hearing the question, Wen Jiabao directly addressed this sensitive issue. He stated that the results of the investigation and handling would certainly be answered to the people, and would stand the test of law and history. However, the current Chongqing Municipal Party Committee and government must reflect and learn from the lessons of the Wang Lijun incident. This statement, at a time when Bo Xilai had not yet been officially announced as a suspect, sent a clear political signal. It essentially declared Bo Xilai's political demise. The Chinese leadership had hoped to separate Bo Xilai from the Wang Lijun case. However, Wen Jiabao's remarks exposed this pretense, making it difficult for Bo Xilai to extricate himself from the situation. As a politician, Wen Jiabao understood the dynamics clearly. He, along with Zhao Yongkang and Bo Xilai, were in a life-or-death struggle. If he did not decisively defeat Zhao and Bo, Wen would eventually be purged by his opponents who controlled the political and legal system. To ensure his family's interests after retirement, he had to strike while the iron was hot. Following the Prime Minister's press conference, investigating Bo Xilai became an inevitable choice. However, due to Wang Lijun's testimony, only Wang Lijun's involvement in the murder could be proven. Regarding Bo Xilai's financial issues, evidence could only be obtained by investigating the 3 individuals who served as proxies for the Bo family. These 3 individuals attempted to re-enter China on the same day but were too late. They had already been flagged by border control. Unaware, they had become the focal point of political struggles. If they fell into the hands of Bo Xilai's supporters, he might escape unscathed. If they were controlled by those opposed to Bo Xilai, he would find it difficult to disassociate himself from responsibility. As businessmen, these 3 individuals were also under the control of the political and legal system. In the political arena, Bo Xilai found himself in a dire situation, often described as a checkmate. His career advancement was largely attributed to Jiang Zemin, leading many to view him as Jiang's protégé. Despite Jiang's approval of Bo's downfall, many interpreted it as a sign of Jiang's waning influence. Following Bo's case, Hu Jintao's prestige and power reached their zenith. In late April 2012, Jiang made public appearances, first by meeting the CEO of Starbucks, and then at the National Center for the Performing Arts, aiming to display his health and control. Media hinted at his pivotal role in the Bo Xilai investigation. 4 days after Bo's arrest, a car accident occurred at Beifusi Bridge, on Beijing's 4th Ring Road. Authorities scrambled to conceal the truth. 5 months later, Jiang seized on Ling Jihua's mishandling of the accident to regain full control from Hu Jintao, effectively becoming the mastermind and final arbiter of the 18th Party Congress. The biggest beneficiary of these 2 monumental events was undoubtedly the smiling young heir apparent. These incidents cleared obstacles from his path to power, laying the groundwork for his rise as the new authoritarian leader. For now, let's save the detailed story of the car accident for another time. That's all for today. Interested viewers can join our membership for weekly live streams, access to our top-tier community, and regular article recommendations. Creating content is challenging, so please consider following, liking, and commenting to help YouTube expand our reach, allowing more viewers to learn the truth about the Chinese political landscape.